So in this video, we are going to talk about the Renaissance. We'll start with the meaning, the definition of a Renaissance, then we will analyze the causes behind the emergence of a Renaissance, and then we will see the impacts of a Renaissance, impact in literature, impact on paintings, impact on architecture, and impact in the science field also. So getting started with the definition of Renaissance, the word Renaissance is usually used to describe a movement in art, literature, and science during the Middle Ages, and Middle Ages is a period between 14th to 16th century in Europe. The literal meaning of Renaissance is rebirth, and it was first used by French historian Jules Michelet in 1855. But the full picture of Renaissance was given by the Swiss professor Jacob Burckhardt, who in 1860 published a paper named as The Civilization of Renaissance in Italy. We can truly describe Renaissance as the age of knowledge, the age of exploration, the age of intellectual, moral, artistic, and commercial development. Now we can move forward to the causes of Renaissance. So first cause was the fall of Constantinople. Constantinople was captured by Ottoman Turks in 1453, and this Constantinople is the modern day Istanbul, which is located in Turkey. After the fall of Constantinople on the hands of Ottoman Turks, the Greek scholars fled with their precious manuscript to the European countries. Most of them took the shelter in Italy because it was well known for the center of learning. It is also important because when we talk about Renaissance, it emerged from Italy only. So Italy was the center of Renaissance, and these precious manuscript has a lot to play in the emergence of philosophy of Renaissance, concept of Renaissance. Now coming to the next reason, which was decline of feudalism. Initially, all the people, whether they were kings or the nobles or the peasants, they were all linked with the vassalage of servitude, that they were either to serve or to be served. So there was no chance of improvement in the lives of common men because they had to follow a fixed pattern. Somebody has to serve, somebody has to be served. But after the crusades, the feudal lords became less powerful and hence they could not get an increase in the rents from their tenants. As a result, feudalism began to lose its hold on society, and now people started coming out of their shell and they started breaking the fixed thinking pattern. This also led to the Renaissance. Now, coming to the next important reason, after the fall of Constantinople, the trade between Europe and Asia was affected because now the European merchants will not have unfair share in the trade of Mediterranean. So, European government began to encourage voyages of discovery. They were basically promoting the sailors to find new routes to India subcontinent and South Asia in order to continue trade without getting involved in Mediterranean. So here I will show you two figures. This is basically Constantinople and this is Mediterranean. Before the fall of Constantinople, this was in the hands of Roman Empire, and from the Constantinople the trade goods were sent to Northern Europe, the trade goods were sent to Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and trade goods used to come from China and India subcontinent. But now, after the fall of subcontinent on the hands of Ottoman Turks, they were forced to discover a new route because the Christians and the Europeans lost their supremacy in the Mediterranean Sea. Now they went on to find new routes, and in that order, sailors from Portugal, sailors from Spain, sailors from Northern Europe discovered the routes to America and discovered a new route to India via Atlantic Ocean and Indian Ocean. So this later also became one of the reasons behind Renaissance because it led to the exploration, it led to the thinking of human behavior. Okay, now coming to the next reason, which is spirit of inquiry, which was most similar to the previous cause that we have discussed, that original thinking based on experiment, observation and exploration and reason could not be held back for long. Some bold thinkers like Peter Abelard, Thomas Aquinas and Roger Bacon encouraged independent thinking, and only because of independent thinking new routes can be discovered to America, to India via Atlantic and Indian Ocean. So spirit of inquiry was the core reason behind the coming of Renaissance. Now coming to the humanism. Humanism is a result of Renaissance. People, by using their power to reason, began to drift away from the authority of church, which rejected this world and pleasures of life. This emphasis on man became the philosophy of humanism. As men started thinking, as they started experimenting, they got to know that they should not be in the hold of church authority or church teaching. They should follow their own path, they should follow their own inquisitiveness and find out as much as they can. So now the arts became more realistic. Leonardo da Vinci came, Michelangelo came, Raphael came. Sculpture showed an understanding of human anatomy. You can see sculpture showed an understanding of human anatomy. You can see the dome of Sistine Chapel, you can see the dome of Church and Vatican. Architecture now took care of man and its needs, and literature now gave importance to the individuals, including the women. Okay, this was most ignored fact, by the way. Now coming to the next reason, which was development of printing press. No invention was more timely than that of printing press, because after the invention of printing press in Germany by Gutenberg, once the knowledge of Renaissance emerged from Italy, it took no time to spread it throughout the Europe, be it in Northern Europe or in Western Europe. So printing helped in the spread of knowledge at an unprecedented speed. And because of printing press, because of printing, the Renaissance could be expanded beyond the frontiers of Italy and reached the territories of Portugal, territories of England, Scotland as well. Now coming to the impact of Renaissance. So impact on art, we will have a look on this. The artists painted themes from the Bible, as you will see. Michelangelo painted the stories of Bible on the Sistine Chapel, on the walls of Sistine Chapel. So they started painting themes from the Bible as well as from the everyday's life in the Greek and Roman styles. Some of the famous artists were Leonardo da Vinci, and among his creations, three creations are very important, very famous. First is the Mona Lisa, you might have seen. Then the next is the Last Supper. This is basically depicting the last meal of Jesus before crucifixion. And then the Virgin and the Child. So these three are most popular creations of Leonardo da Vinci. Here you can see the realism in the art. You will see that these pictures are lively. The people are going to come out of your screen right now. Now coming to the Michelangelo, who was again a great painter. The paintings in the vault of Sistine Chapel in the Vatican was painted by Michelangelo. Here you can see the paintings in Sistine Chapel. These all paintings has been done by one single man, Michelangelo. The Last Judgment was painted on the wall of Sistine Chapel, was also one of the famous painting. This is the Last Judgment, and the Fall of Man, the story of Adam and Eve. So this is also painted on the wall of Sistine Chapel, and these are among the important and famous paintings of Michelangelo. Coming to the next painter, Raphael, his most famous painting was Sistine Madonna, and here you can see the Sistine Madonna, the lady holding her child. Now coming to the impact on literature, Petrarch, who was from Florence, a great Italian scholar and also known as the father of humanism, wrote sonnets to Laura. This was very popular amongst the initial text during the period of Renaissance. Dante Alighieri wrote Divine Comedy, which for the first time provided people a glimpse of heaven and hell. Boccaccio's Decameron is a lively portrayal of Italian life during the 1300s, and via this book you can have a glimpse about the normal Italian life in the period of Renaissance. Then the book of Erasmus, Praise of Folly, which was in Dutch, also contributed to the spirit of Renaissance. Niccolo Machiavelli, he is regarded as the father of modern political philosophy. He was as influential as Leonardo da Vinci, as influential as Petrarch. His book, The Prince, told about the political conditions in Italy. The Prince, the book like Decameron are important in order to have a know about how was a normal life during that period of Renaissance in Italy. Then Geoffrey Chaucer is famous for the Canterbury Tales, series of stories. So these are some important literature which got developed during this period. Then when it comes to the field of literature, how can one leave Sir William Shakespeare? So his famous works are the Comedy of Errors, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Julius Caesar, Othello, etc. He was considered to be the greatest dramatist, greatest poet in the English language. Now coming to the impacts on science. So some of the famous scientists who helped in the development of science and scientific inventions were Roger Bacon as well as Leonardo da Vinci. You might be strange here that Leonardo da Vinci, he was well versed in painting, he was well versed in literature, he was also proficient in sculpture making, as well as he was also well known for his knowledge of engineering, mathematics, astronomy, and anatomy. And this was a feature of Renaissance that it led to the development of multiple polymaths. Michelangelo was a sculptor also, a very fine sculptor, and he was also a great painter, as we have already seen the painting of Sistine Chapel. Now coming to the field of astronomy, Copernicus came, and Nicholas Copernicus was a Polish priest as well as scientist. He basically explained the idea of Ptolemy. Ptolemy was very ancient geographer who gave the concept of motion of sun, moon, and other stars. This was well explained by Copernicus, and his work was published as On the Revolution of the Heavenly Bodies. During his lifetime, Copernicus did not have the courage to publish his work because he thought that if he will publish his work, he would be died. But later on, after his death, after many years, his works was published as On the Revolution of Heavenly Bodies, which basically disclosed the Ptolemy's ideas behind motions of sun, moon, and other stars. Now, the next scientist in the field of astronomy was Galileo Galilei. He developed a telescope. He studied the solar system. He discovered the laws of pendulum, laws of energy. He also invented thermometer and modified the initial telescope. Then we have Sir Isaac Newton, one of the greatest physicists and the scientist in the world. Sir Isaac Newton was credited for the discovery of law of gravitation. Now coming to the field of medicine and chemistry, Vesalius studied all the organs of human body. And by the way, studying organs of the human body during the Middle Age, during the Dark Age, was considered undesirable. But Vesalius went beyond the laws of tradition and studied all the organs of human body so that the medical field can be developed. Apart from him, William Harvey discovered the circulation of blood. Paracelsus showed the use of chemicals as medicine. Cordus made ether from alcohol and sulfuric acid, which was then became a major medical element. Then Helmont discovered carbon dioxide, and in the field of mathematics, René Descartes published his scientific work on analytical geometry. Stephen discovered the laws of parallelogram of forces. So that's all in the Renaissance. We have discussed the causes, we have discussed the impact. See you in the next lecture. Have a great day.